To order. And just for those that are calling in or watching on TV, there are two of us present physically and two on the phone. Lindsay and Kyle are on the phone, and Scott and I are here at the Diaz. And let's see now. So, need to have the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you all join me in the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll give an invocation. Our Father in heaven, we are thankful for the many blessings we received by thy hand, and we pray at this time that thou will watch over us, that thou will bless our country as we're going through this epidemic, that we may do the things and use thy wisdom to choose the things that will help save lives. We're thankful for this community that we live in, and we pray that thy Spirit will be with us today, that we might be able to make those decisions that are proper and according to what our community needs. And I say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay, City Attorney report.
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor, this is Lloyd Pilchin, City Attorney. City Council met in closed session. Three items were on the agenda. 3 items are described in the agenda. Council gave direction. No final action was taken on all 3. End of report.
Thank you. Okay, we have a presentation tonight. Were you going to read one? We don't have anybody in the public to receive them, so...
Shall we go ahead and read them from where we're at?
Just read where we're at.
I have before me tonight a proclamation proclaiming April 2020 as the Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas all children deserve to grow up in a safe and nurturing environment to ensure that they reach their full potential, and whereas child abuse is a serious and growing problem affecting millions of our nation's children, and whereas it is important for all citizens to become more aware of child abuse and the critical need for prevention within their respective neighborhoods and communities, and whereas decreasing the occurrence of child abuse relies upon the efforts of every individual in order to make a positive, substantial impact upon the children of today who will become the leaders of tomorrow. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the City Council of the City of Ridgecrest hereby proclaims April 2020 as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Proclaimed this first day of April 2020 by our Mayor, Peggy Breeden, Lindsay Stevens, Mayor Pro Tem, Mike Meyer, Vice Mayor, myself, Councilman Heyman, and Councilmember Kyle Blades. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we have one other, we have proclamation of the City of Ridgecrest, California, DMV/Donate Life California Month. Whereas organ, tissue, marrow, and blood donation are life-giving acts recognized worldwide as expressions of compassion to those in need, and whereas more than 113,000 individuals nationwide and more than 21,000 in California are currently on the National Organ Transplant waiting list, and on average 20 people die each day while waiting due to the shortage of donated organs. And whereas the need for donated organs is especially urgent in Hispanic and African American communities, and whereas more than 600,000 units of blood per year are needed to meet the need in California, and whereas at any given time 6,000 patients are in need of volunteer marrow donors, and whereas a single individual's donation of the heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, pancreas, and small intestine can save up to 8 lives. Donation of tissue can save and heal the lives of up to 75 others, and a single blood donation can help 3 people in need. And whereas millions of lives each year are saved and healed by donors of organs, tissues, marrow, and blood, whereas the spirit of giving and decision to donate are not restricted by age or medical condition, and whereas nearly 15 million Californians have signed up with the state-authorized Donate Life California Donor Registry to ensure their wishes to be organ, eye, and tissue donors are honored. And whereas California residents can sign up with the Donate Life California Donor Registry when applying for or renewing their driver's license or ID cards in the California Department of Motor Vehicles. Now therefore be it resolved that in recognition of National Donate Life Month, the month of April 2020 is hereby proclaimed DMV/Donate Life California Month in the city of Ridgecrest, and in doing so, we encourage all Californians to check yes when applying for or renewing their driver's license or ID card, or by signing up at www.donatelifecalifornia.org or www.donatevidacalifornia.org. Proclaim this first day of April 2020 by the mayor and the 4 council members. Thank you. Okay, the next item, let it be known that the mayor has entered the chambers and will take over the meeting. You want me to continue? Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Next item is number 3, Public Works update by Bard Lauer.
Do you want me to spray that?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council near and members of council far. So,
Bart, can you scoot a little bit closer or pull the microphone?
how about that?
Thank you.
How about if I bring it over here? All right, so that didn't work.
I think he's got a...
There we go.
There you go.
So every year I like to bring you a Public Works update. This is January 19 through December of 2019. I'll have little bits and pieces about what's going on this year, but mainly it's for what's gone on the last year. So the roadway infrastructure, we're going to start with streets. So we completed in 2019, this was our first year of slurry. Fall, we completed 671,736 square feet, or 3.4 centerline miles. In the spring, we completed more, but less centerline miles. So the question should be, how can you slurry more square feet and less centerline miles? Answer is you slurry wider streets, like Upjohn in California. This is the slurry work that was completed last spring. You can see all the different streets that had work done, from where to where, length, square feet, etc. This is what was done this last fall. This is the map of what was done. The orange was done in the spring of last year. The green was done this last fall. Please note that there's a triangle up in the upper left-hand corner that didn't actually fit on the map. So this would be a slurry project that was completed. Roadway infrastructure streets, we did quite a bit of desert mix as well. For those of you that don't know what desert mix is, it's a concoction that Les makes up himself out at the shop, and then we put it down on the roads to basically give it a better riding surface. This is where it's too far gone to slurry. So this is commercial. Those of you who remember, commercial was in pretty bad shape before Les did the desert mix, and we'll probably do a slurry over this either this spring or next fall. So roadway infrastructure, again, what was completed? Well, we swept most every street every other week, except during the earthquake and during rainstorms. With all the rain last spring, they patched a lot of potholes. Same thing with a lot of weeds. Took care of numerous trees that were blocking roadway signs. We're up to 65% of all the street signs that need to be replaced that we started in 2016. We ran prep for the medians on China Lake, Norma, and Bowman. We're trying something different on Downs. Instead of concreting it, since there are water irrigation lines below, we don't want to concrete it, because then if something breaks, we have to tear up the concrete. So we're trying to put in DG. Decomposed granite. Thank you. We're going to try that on 2 of the Downs medians to see if it works. And then we've done a lot of prep work for the 2020 spring slurry season. So, same map. And you're going to say, well, why do we have the same map? Well, it's because we're going to try and finish up all the streets that are in white that are between Richmond and China Lake, with the exception of, if you look between Sunland and Gateway and between Church and California, there's a whole bunch of streets in there that the Water District's still working on. So we're going to try and finish up all but those. So we'll see how far we get. It's a little ambitious. It's a little over 900,000 square feet. So now we're switching to engineering. Was there any questions on streets? No? Okay. Moving on to engineering. We did the construction on the east side of Downs. It was completed. Very nice job. We thank council for approving the extra that included sidewalk along the whole length. We did the senior center renovation. We did the reconstruction of the senior center parking lot. We did the Sunland, paved a dirt road. We did the sewer line reconstruction at Downs and Bowman. We did the intersections of Bowman and Downs. And we did a crosswalk project where we did 7 school crosswalks. During design, now that was construction, this is design. We did the west side of Downs, and this is what it looks like currently. If you notice, the new poles are the tall ones to the left. As soon as they finish their subsurface work, and they're going to relocate the lines that aren't SCE, like telephone and cable, that type of thing, then those poles will come out hopefully in time for our project this summer. We did Dolphin. We've designed Dolphin, which is a paving of this particular road. It will continue, basically, it starts close to College Heights. There's a little bit of pavement there and runs all the way to China Lake. Tamarisk. This is what it looks like now. It's a half a street. New paving will take place from the end of the curb there all the way to the end. And then we're going to repave the left side. The part to the east is not going to be repaved with this project because it wasn't terrible when the project was put together, and the environmental only covered the part we just talked about. However, we did include it on the Measure V paving program for this year, so it'll finish it the rest of the way out. So RFPs. Now, this is requests for proposal. Some of these were RFQs as well, which is requests for qualifications, and I'll explain the difference in a minute. The paving program that I just talked about for out of Measure V, that RFP has been out. It's been bid. We've selected a consultant, and they're working on the design of this right now. So these are the streets on the paving program for this year. If you'll notice, Tamarisk is down there, like I just said. So other ones, a crack fill project. Now this is from the earthquake. We have the design work going on that right now. The city standards and QAP. That's Quality Assurance Program, which we have to update every 5 years. You guys heard about that 2 weeks ago when we were going to bring it to council, but then pulled it because we can't do the proper meetings with the citizens. City engineering services, that's an RFQ. So we're looking for qualifications, not price. What we're looking to do is add more staff without hiring more staff. And then the design services for Ward is already out, and that's, I think, been awarded already, and I think last week, and they're starting to work on the design. Development, businesses, they worked on Oasis, Mojave Apartments, Red Rock Apartments, Holiday Inn Express, Town Place Hotel, Extended Stay Apartments, and a few others. Those are the big ones. They've got final maps approved for 7188 and 6908. Miscellaneous things, did a speed study this last year required for both Public Works and the Police Department. So we changed the speed limits in several streets in town. They completed the first part of the SSARP, which is Systematic Safety Analysis Report Program, and the LSRP, which is Local Safety Road Program. Those will both be finished this month. We're also one of the first communities in the county or state to get this work completed. We've contracted with SEE to change the streetlights to LED, inspection of all major roads after the earthquake, issued a lot of encroachment permits this last year and inspected the work done. We hired a new engineer in November, Gail Rausch. She's got a PhD in civil engineering, and we've assigned her to work on that concentrates on pavement management and ADA. And she's already researched all the available pavement management systems for compatibility with our systems within the city. Basically limited to 3, has done trial ones on all 3 of those, and we've selected one. Now this is into what we're doing this year already, and we've already purchased the program. We're in the process of doing the PO right now. Any questions on engineering? Okay, wastewater, earthquake, July 4th and 5th of 2019. They had damage to the potable water system, the electrical systems, all 3 clarifiers, one badly. Luckily, there wasn't any damage to the actual concrete part of these. It was all the moving systems, and we got it fixed fairly quickly. Other 2 were minimal damage. We had control panels damaged or destroyed. Both submersible pumps were damaged. Several pond slide gates were damaged. Things were so bad at one time that we had plain Romax running across the ground and garden hoses running across the ground to keep the plant working. The crew worked extensively, and the damage to the plant was repaired or rebuilt by the end of August, which I think is absolutely amazing. And Jim Humphrey deserves all sorts of credit for making that happen. The contract initiated to video all the sewer lines to inspect for earthquake damage. Work began in November, and it's just finishing up now. There's not a lot, which is, again, wonderful. Work will begin in the fall of 2020 to repair the damage found during the inspection. We routine accomplishment. They rebuilt all 3 clarifiers before the earthquake. We do that every year, though, to replace parts that wear out and keep them running. Serviced all reclamation equipment, replaced diverter pipe between pond 1 and 2, and fabricated and installed a drive shaft for the primary piston pump. Now, if I remember what Jim told me correctly, this is a 1960s pump, 1970s pump, and you can't get replacement parts anymore. So they actually fabricated what was needed. New plant. So this is something that we keep getting asked about, so I want to talk about it a little bit since negotiations with the Navy on the land lease are nearing completion. We've received the land appraisal this last week, and this should be completed by summer. Negotiations on the operations agreement are progressing and should be completed this summer. So we should be able to progress by the end of summer. Transit. Accomplishments. We participated in several local events to draw passengers. One of the things that council had asked is said, what are you doing to get more passengers? Well, they went out to Randsburg Old West Days, and they went to Saracosa Community College Rocks event. We maintained service levels despite significant employee shortages throughout the years. Chris mentioned to me that I'm lying in this next one. We have not got all drivers' positions full. We're missing one right now. We created a new logo. You can't really see it real well because that's where the pictures are up there, but that's the new logo. Can you move that a little bit and then put it back? There we go. So you can see this is the new logo for transit. We'll start putting those on the buses. One of the things that I got comments on when I first got here was, how do I know that's a city bus? So we're making sure this happens. And we got new uniforms with the new logos on them. Hang on a minute. Yeah, that's not working, Gary. Thank you. We submitted a CMAQ project for solar on top of the bus sunshade. This will allow transit to move towards electric buses, which will lower our operating costs. And by doing that, reduce the amount that the city has to subsidize because we don't make fare box. Move towards the state's mandate of no permit emissions by 2040. We updated the drug and alcohol policy, which came to you guys a little while ago. And then the earthquake, we provided on-call bus service for the hospital in case they needed to move patients or staff. So, any questions on transit? I guess I didn't ask if there was any questions on wastewater. So either one?
I was glad I was glad you told when you gave the West Downs project. I've had people ask me, don't the cable and telephone lines need to be moved, and so I'm glad you touched on that. So now I've got information for that.
We also provided the wastewater one that you guys have been asking for as well. So you would have gotten the same information at the infrastructure meeting last week if we'd had it. So.
Okay. Any other questions from council? Any questions from public? Any call-ins? Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Bard.
You don't mind if I stay since
You may stay.
a few of the other ones are
The
mine.
next item is public comment of items not on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the council on matters that are within the council's jurisdiction and do not already appear on the agenda may do so at this time. Pursuant to the Brown Act, City Council may not take action on an item that does not appear on this agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. The public comment section of the agenda is limited to a total of 1 hour. Each speaker is asked to provide his or her name. So I now open up public comment.
Let's give that a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's at least a 20-second delay on YouTube.
While we're waiting for that, may I just thank everybody's and appreciate their indulgences for letting me run late. I'm sorry, I had a big printing issue, and hopefully it's taken care of.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, he's got someone on the line.
Okay. Go ahead, public comment.
He's transferring him. Go ahead.
Hello, public comment? Someone there? It's not working?
Nope.
They're gone? Okay, I guess we lost the one public comment. Okay, council announcements. Any council announcements? Lindsay or Kyle, do you have any council announcements? Okay,
Nothing on my end.
thank you. Nothing here? Okay, then we will move to the consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are considered to be routine by city staff and will be approved in one motion if no member of the council or the public wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired by anyone, that item may be removed from the consent calendar and be considered separately. With public comment before action is taken, do any members of the council wish to have an item pulled?
None for me.
None.
Okay. All right, we have 2 items on the consent calendar. I'm going to be a little briefer than the mayor usually is. Item 4 is proposed action to approve draft minutes of the City of Ridgecrest City Council, et cetera, is dated March 18th, 2020. Number 5 is resolution authorizing submission of the fiscal year 2019-2020 Transportation Development Act Article 4 claim to the Kern Council of Governments. Any council member want to pull either of these items? Any public wishing to pull any of these items? We have one.
Mr. Neal.
We have public comment on item consent calendar. Hello?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, this is public comment. I got shut out by a busy signal earlier.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Let's ask you to back up just a little bit. Okay, so anyway, per Government Code 54953.3, I will not identify myself tonight. Would like to make comment about the committee meetings and how they're being set up currently. The last week there was supposed to be an infrastructure meeting, and I had several back and forth by email trying to get the meeting put on the live stream. so that the public could actually participate fully informed. Just let me read you Government Code 54950. It says, in enacting this chapter, the legislature finds and declares that public commissions, boards, councils, and other public agencies of the state exist to aid in the conduct of the people's business. It is the intent of the law that their actions be taken openly and their deliberations be conducted openly. The people of this state do not yield their sovereignty to the agencies which serve them. The people, in delegating authority, do not give their public servants the right to decide what is good for the people to know and what is not good for them to know. This last sentence, the people insist on remaining informed so that they may retain control over the instruments they have created. So the reason I read that is that this is California law, and the people need to be informed of what's going on. And this applies to committee meetings and not just council meetings. Without the committee meetings being televised for the public to see and the documentation that any staff bring to the meeting, we cannot be informed. It's hard to even know what's really being discussed and the substance of that. As the meetings are being held in the council chambers, all that needs to be done on the council's part is to have a staff member there to run the live stream and make it available. The call-in's already being made available, and if staff has material to present, then they need to make that material available in some fashion so that the public can access that and be able to comment and contribute in an informed fashion. So I'm asking that the council bring direction and let's get this process tweaked up better so that the public can be able to continue to contribute in an informed fashion at not just council meetings, but at committee meetings. And that's all.
Thank you. Okay, we have another comment.
And if staff has material to present, then
Hello?
have material available in some fashion.
You're on.
So that the public can access
I am.
and be able to comment.
Turn your video down so we're getting the feedback from your phone.
So,
Just a second.
bring direction.
Is that better?
Yes.
This is Dave Matthews. I'm still listening to Mike. I'm sorry. I tried to call in. It's not working right. This is unacceptable because I'm trying to get to ask Bart some questions, and it didn't go through. And then you skipped through public comment. I was on hold, I thought, but nobody picked me up. So we got problems, and this is not a valid venue. My question for Bart.
Go ahead.
Well, it's down, I thought.
No, we're hearing you.
Okay. The slide that you showed on the West Downs, that was over by the curb on the West Downs, looking north. Is that correct?
Hang on.
Yeah, I guess.
Hang on.
I can't hear him.
I said, hang on a sec.
All right.
Wait a minute, I must have gone by it already. Roadway engineering. No?
Keep going.
There's a big
It's not
delay.
forward, it's back of that.
Is it?
Yeah.
The West Downs?
Paving projects currently in design, it's before that. RFPs before that. That's Tamarisk, there we go. That one.
There it is. It's on now, Dave.
It's in there's actually not a lot of curve, but it's it's between Upjohn and Ridgecrest Boulevard.
Facing north. It's looking north.
It's near the, it's facing north, but it's near the ball fields.
Yeah, okay. I want to double check on that. All right. The comments, well, I've already said part of them. The system is not working. This is not an acceptable way to do a meeting. You got to get somebody there that can do the live stream live, not through MediaCom or not MediaCom, YouTube or whatever. There's too much delay here. So I'm just going to sign off right now. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Anyone else? Okay. Okay, so we're on the consent counter. We got 2 items.
I make a motion we approve.
Okay.
Second.
Have a second? Go ahead and do roll call.
Mayor Breeden?
Aye.
Mr. Maurer?
Aye.
Mr. Heyman?
Aye.
Mr. Blades?
Aye.
Ms. Stevens?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Okay. Then we'll move to the discussion action items. First item, number 6, is update on local coronavirus 19 response.
Yes, sir. Well, we might as well address the 2 items that were just brought up here just a second ago by Mr. Neal and Mr. Matthews. I do agree that with some of the committee meetings, infrastructure, city org, that there may be some value to bringing them into chambers so we have a little bit better ability for exhibits. So I do understand that by just doing it WebEx and they call in might be a little difficult for the public to follow. So we can look at maybe migrating to that. We may also want to migrate to the point where we put some of the PowerPoint presentations online, so if they can have access to the computer, they can at least look at the handout material. We can try getting that on there at least no later than the day of the meeting. So I do agree with Mr. Neal. We do have to be adaptive to have enough participation, even though when you look at infrastructure and city org and those committees, there's really no real direction that has been given. There's no vote that basically commits staff to anything. That's the city council meeting, would be the planning commission meeting, so those are the ones that are the most important. But I also understand that if this is protracted, we do have to have some sort of interaction with the public, because what decisions are made there are sometimes or most always forwarded to council for further action. So we can work on that if there's items that need to be addressed. If there's no items, maybe we'll just do a WebEx and just have call-in. But if there's heavy handouts, we can maybe have it in here, so at least we're sure that the public is participating. And as for the other with Mr. Matthews, yes, I would say it is probably frustrating to have a 20-second delay. I do not know how we're going to fix that, so it may just be one of those ones we just have to slow the meetings down and just be patient and just work our way through it. And like what you did here, Mr. Maurer, when Mr. Neal's call dropped and Mr. Matthews' call dropped, we just went back to it. So we remain with some flexibility that if somebody calls in and they missed it, that,
Yeah, I think in the circumstances we need to be flexible. By the way, the infrastructure committee meeting was canceled, so there was nothing to show.
Right. So, but in the future, I think we can take a look at that, and I think we'll have whoever department is presenting that information get with the chair and make that determination if we need to do it in the council chambers, if we can do it, if we have to. Because every time if we record this, we have to use staff. We have to use Gary, and that's time consuming. They have other stuff to do, but I also think if there's value to it, then we should probably do it, if that's acceptable for council in that direction.
Everybody agree on that?
Agree.
I do.
Lindsay,
I definitely.
Go ahead.
I definitely think that there's value in making sure that we can be as open to the public as we can through the committee meetings. And I think also, like we said, if someone calls in now and they miss public comment, that we allow them to go ahead and make the public comment.
We'll be liberal on that. We'll be liberal and let them speak. So, by the way, the two of you that are on the screen, when I ask something, when you guys shake your head, yes, I see that, so I'll be watching. You don't have to respond. So Kyle, I know you respond. This is Kyle, but I see you shaking your head, yes or no. So, okay.
Okay, then update on the city's response or preparation to COVID-19. Right now, we are prepared. All of our essential services are intact. The police department's intact. Wastewater's intact. Streets. We do have some employees that are teleworking from home when it makes sense. Others are working at their workstations. We're obviously observing the CDC guidelines and making sure that our workplaces are safe. For example, our department head meetings, we've been meeting once a day. As things progress, I think we're going to reduce it down to twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays, so then I can keep staff informed of anything that's going on with the county and the COVID-19. If it changes, we'll step up the meetings a little bit, but we've been meeting over at the Kern McGee Center, spread out. Bard's been bringing his Lysol and spraying it everywhere, so we're all very clean and disinfected. The police department is responding only to emergency calls for service. We're not responding to non-emergency calls that can be handled over the phone. The most important thing on that is to reduce the exposure of our officers to COVID-19. All of our officers have been provided personal protective equipment, and right now I think our supplies are adequate for the time. I know that Chief McLaughlin's been working with the hospital and the county to make sure our supplies are up, and we're also looking for other outside vendors to make sure that we have the equipment that we need. One of the things that came up here recently, there was a photograph in the Daily Independent today of several young adults playing basketball over at the county park by the fire department. We understand that's an issue. Jed and Mr. Patton have agreed that we'll respond to those type calls where we have folks that aren't keeping that social distance, and we'll get a hold of them and educate them and have them disperse. So we're coming up with a plan on that. We don't feel right now that there's a need or a necessity to close our parks just yet, but we do feel that we should be monitoring them and making sure that if we have kids playing soccer, kids playing basketball, that we address it. If we close the parks and we're closing it for the people that are out there with their kids or just walking through the park, and in all frankness, I think at this point in time may be a bigger public safety issue, taking time away with our officers enforcing it than we would be just monitoring those who aren't following the CDC guidelines. So we're going to look at that for a while. If we don't see voluntary compliance on it, we can always bring it back and do something different, like close the parks. With the county filing a declaration of a mental health emergency, that brings a little bit more power to the police department in issuing public health citations for individuals who aren't following the rules. So we're looking at that. I get some feedback here. So we're on top of that. We're looking at it. We'll keep monitoring it. Otherwise, it appears that all of the original businesses that were restricted by the governor's executive order, it appears everybody is complying. We have heard from Matt Constantine, the director of Current Health, that there are some complaints of businesses that are non-essential that should be closed that are open. He promised to get that information to myself and Chief McLaughlin, and when we get that list, we will take a look at it, and if there's some follow-up that needs to be done on that, we'll absolutely do that. So we haven't gotten any complaints that we've gotten, we followed up on. So these are complaints that have been filed with the public health, and so we recommended Mr. Constantine just forward them to us. Let us take a look at it. If we have difficulty, if they refuse to close, then we will bring county health in to address it. City Hall is still closed to the public. However, our building department is still open, issuing building permits for new construction and tentative improvements. City staff, our economic development analyst has been reaching out to local businesses and informing them of the SBA loan. In fact, just yesterday there was an update in that will allow small businesses to apply for loans to keep their employees on payroll. And I believe there's a component of that, if they keep on payroll for a certain period of time, that they could receive a grant. In other words, they wouldn't have to pay that amount back.
It's 4 months.
So Melissa is going to be reaching out. We had information of one business that was looking at closing. I believe I haven't gotten any feedback, but she was supposed to reach out to that business today and apprise them of this information and this help that they can have. Because the ultimate goal is for our businesses to be in compliant for the protection of our community, but also to have the ability that at the end of the day, when we're through this, that we can have as many businesses intact as we had before. There's no guarantee we may not lose some small businesses, but we're going to do the best we can with our resources to at least reach out and let them know what's out there. I know that Melissa's also been working with the Chamber of Commerce, Tim Smith also in reaching out. So we're doing the best we can, and really our effort over the next few weeks is just to stay on top of that and provide them all the information that we can. We're also utilizing information from Buxton. Buxton has agreed to allow an unlimited amount of licenses for these businesses to be able to use their data analytics to help their business in whichever way they can to try and survive this. So those are some of the things we're working on. Obviously, I think with our public meetings, it's a work in progress. Staff is interested in whatever we can do. I do like the WebEx box, being able to see Ms. Stevens and Mr. Blades engaged in the meeting, although you're a small box, but we can still see you. So just remember that. And we'll just keep adapting as necessary. But right now, I think the information this last week was, I think sent a message home to the community when we had a couple of positive tests in our area. I noticed that we had a few less cars on the roadway. People were keeping their distance at the stores. So I think that we as a community are doing quite well in following the CDC guidelines. We're always getting concerns from citizens that we're not doing it enough, but there is a balance that has to be struck in this. So just keep our fingers crossed, and we'll just keep adapting to whatever comes our way. And I would hope that we'll know over the next 2 to 4 weeks how this is going to ultimately affect our budget. We do know that our TOT from the hotels is going to drop at least for the next couple of months, primarily because the tourism through Death Valley, they've closed Death Valley, they've closed a lot of the national parks, so those folks aren't coming for that. And we also know that the base has reduced travel to just the essential, which currently right now is not a lot. So most of the base is teleworking, and I think some of the hotels are down to 10% of their occupancy, which is quite low. So we'll see a reduction in that. The good point is that we were about $300,000 above our anticipated revenue because we were very conservative, and so we'll know here after a bit where we're going to end up at. So I'll keep you informed. So that's all I have. Any questions from council at all?
Yeah, I have a question, and I've been informed that the problem in the past on these tests, it takes like a week to hear from them. Did the county say that the quicker tests will be here pretty quick for our hospital?
I do believe that Mr. Constantine stated today that most all the tests are coming back within 2 days now, 3 at the most.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know one that came back Monday, it took a week.
Yes. But there are a different set of guidelines that have come down from the CDC and the state regarding who they should be testing, and they're looking in at 5 areas, I believe. those that are in the hospital, they're exhibiting symptoms, people that are working in the correction facility, healthcare industry. So they're restricting the type tests or the number or the people they're testing for right now so they can save the tests for those who need it the most. But I would assume that as the testing gets more prevalent, there's more tests available, and as it gets quicker, I would assume it'll probably broaden a little bit more to the general public, even though Mr. Constantine said that there's probably not a lot of benefit because it's just in your community. We should just understand it's here and just act accordingly.
So I just read today where LA County is expanding testing centers to Lancaster, Palmdale, and a few other communities that fall into into that LA County area. But I think they said they hope to have them up and running by Wednesday. I assume they were referring to this Wednesday, but so I think in regards to that looks like other areas are, more tests must be coming available for them to be able to have all these other testing centers opening up. So, which I was glad to see the Lancaster Palmdale one because, that kind of helps to take care of them on, that side and us over here. So, anyway, hopefully it's good news on that.
Yeah, I think things are going to remain fluid. I mean, things are changing hour to hour, day to day. Mm-hmm. So, myself and Chief McLaughlin spent a significant amount of time on conference calls and tracking what's going on so we can do the best for our community whenever we need to.
I'd be curious to find out who the health department says it's open illegally right now, because I've driven around town and I haven't seen any non-essentials open.
Well, we should get that list. They may not even be in the city. They may be in the county. And if they're in the county, that's the sure. County's jurisdiction. But when we get the list, and we'll obviously follow up on it and take the appropriate action.
Okay.
Didn't he say 24 in all of Kern County?
I believe he said there were 40 complaints
okay.
that he had.
Thank you.
And he was gonna forward to us the ones in our jurisdiction. Yeah. So we've been checking. We haven't seen it yet. So as soon as we get it, we'll make the follow up.
Okay. Kyle and Lindsay, any questions? Okay. Next item is number 7, a resolution authorizing the execution of the certifications and assurances and authorized agent forms for the Low Carbon Transit Operations Program for the following projects: battery electric van replacement purchase, $56,316.
Hey, Mike, real quick. I had something on the COVID section of doing things.
Oh, go ahead.
No, that's okay. You guys can hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we got an email earlier from a citizen, and so I'm just using this time to convey that message to you, the council, and then to the public. To summarize, the email was asking us, the council, to stay home, basically, if we have the means to bridge the gap technologically. And it appears that we're working out the kinks, but it's just it's a comment I wanted to bring forth from the public, that there are ways to do things, and that maybe we should think about that as a council. And Ron, what do you think as far as staff goes? Do you think that this meeting can be done strictly over video?
Well, I think anything can be completed with the right technology. It may make it a little more difficult to conduct the meeting, but it could be possible. But it'd be difficult.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in no way trying to, imply anything for other people. I'm not trying to make people's minds up. I know that's the reason that I stayed back at my house, was just trying to stay in line with the governor's call for people to stay home. And I want to bring that up.
Well, I think in this case we're sufficiently spread out. If both you and Ms. Stevens would have showed up tonight, myself and Ms. Charlon would have ended up down at the table below. So we had plans to keep everybody sufficiently apart. I do believe that there is an argument to be made to have us stay home. However, I do think the public still wants to see some sort of continuity of government. And I think that's important during this time, that if we can do it safely, that, you know, we still do the best we can to do the people's business as much as we possibly can. I think that if things get significantly worse, then I would say, yes, we probably need to find a new way of doing business. But
I believe what that letter was referring to, Kyle, was the meeting that was held today.
Your microphone.
So, yeah, and what that letter was referring to is us as city councilmen all continuing to go to the council chambers with staff, and we're having traffic. And I'm not saying this needless. This is important. I take this job seriously as I take my other job. I think it's important that we carry on city business and we don't let that be interrupted. But I think it's just as important for us to show the community how serious we're taking it. So this is in no way me casting any kind of doubt on the rest of you. You're making your own choices. I'm just bringing it forth specifically because of that letter, but also because, you've noticed that Lindsay and I stayed away, and we're not doing it because we're being alarmist. We're just trying to set a good example.
That's fine. Okay, so we're on item 7. Any council comments? Oh, go ahead and make your presentation. You're not Smith.
I'm sorry? Yep.
I'm
here.
Are you turned on?
I'm taking this one, yes. Yeah. So, no, basically this is the LC TOP, which is a Low Carbon Transit Operations Program. This is the execution of certification and assurances. What it basically means overall is that they want to make sure that we're going to use the money like we're supposed to. And by providing certification and assurances, this is what you're approving for us to say, yes, we'll follow the rules. What this is that it takes 5% of the annual auction proceeds from the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund and applies it to operating and capital assistance for transit agencies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. You can we were awarded $56,316 this year. You can roll that money over for up to 4 years. And what we're looking to do with the money is to buy a battery electric van replacement. One of the things, the reason for that is that it's more the right size than some of the cutaway buses, considering the amount of riders we have on an average day. And so it'll give us that, and it will reduce the overall operating costs by being able to use an electric vehicle. We'll tie this with the CMAQ project that you guys approved this last year to put the solar panels on top of the sunshades, and we will move towards an electric fleet well in advance of the governor's mandate of 2040. We have to start by 2026, and anything we purchase ahead of that can be used to count against those numbers as well. So we're looking for you to approve the certs and assurances that will follow the rules when we're using this money.
Okay. Any questions? Discussion? Anyone from the public?
I got a text just a minute ago from someone saying the FCC says we have to give them sufficient time to call in. What is sufficient time? What is sufficient time? Does anyone have an answer for that?
To call in for public comment?
Yeah.
As much time as it takes for them to identify the delay. That's why we say the 20 seconds. And I think that when we discussed earlier about if somebody calls in and it's past that item, that we'd be liberal and allow them to make the comment. So I think
because I thought that's what we were doing, giving them time. So I was just wondering if that comment indicated the 20 or 30 seconds we were giving wasn't sufficient. And I wondered if you had what is sufficient time?
You need to talk closer to the mic.
What is sufficient time? I'm sorry. I'm not used to doing this.
Move the chair over a little bit. There you
Okay.
go.
I think it'd be the recognized delay that we have on the median that we're using. And
Okay.
I think the IT said it was 22 seconds. So I think if we wait 25 seconds after we ask for public comment and we have no phone calls, then I think it's safe that the chair state that there's nobody calling in. We just have to make sure we just take it slow. And then if, like I said, with Mr. Neal and Mr. Matthews, if they call in and say, hey, I couldn't get in, then I think...
I don't think we're going to cut them off, no.
No.
Yeah.
Anyone on the phone? Okay. We have no one on the phone for item 7. Any more questions or discussion?
So I have one. So we're going to start purchasing the electric vehicles. Do we have the charging stations secured for sure?
The vehicle, we're going to roll the money over. We're allowed to do it up to 4 years, so we have enough money to actually purchase the 50, sorry, hang on. The 56,000 is not enough to actually purchase a vehicle. So what we're going to do is roll that money over till at least next year and maybe the third year as well, depending on what the cost of the vehicles are by then. So right now we do not have the charging stations. We're looking at putting in a couple of regular charging stations, and then we'll add the solar with the CMAQ project. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Then I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mayor Braden,
Aye.
Mr. Maurer,
Aye.
Mr. Heyman,
Aye.
Mr. Blades,
Aye.
Ms. Stevens,
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Okay. Item 8, resolution to approve the professional service agreement with the firm Wildan Engineering in the amount of $94,001.60 to provide construction engineering for the West Dolphin Avenue CMAQ Street Construction Project and authorize the city manager, Ron Strand, to sign the agreement.
I believe Lauren's on.
Lauren, are you on the phone?
Yes, yes, I am. Honorable Mayor, council members, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Honorable Mayor, council members, tonight I'm going to be asking you to approve a resolution to approve professional services agreement with Wildan for a time and materials contract for an amount not to exceed $94,001.60, and we're asking you to approve this to provide construction engineering for our West Dolphin Avenue CMAQ project. As you folks know, this is a federally funded project in which we require construction engineering, and some of the tasks that we'll be asking Wildan to provide are, of course, shop drawing reviews, RFIs, certified payroll monitoring, labor compliance, progress billing, inspection, change orders, contract administration, conflict resolution, and finally, materials testing. So we are a little of the background on this project. About 2 weeks ago, Thursday, March 19th, we opened bids for our West Dolphin project, in which I'll be coming to you on April 15th with those bid results and asking you to approve a construction contract with a successful contractor there. But we also have this project funded by the federal government as far as the construction engineering. The total budget for our construction engineering is $101,799, and And with this fee of $94,001.60, 83.53% of that will be covered by the federal government. The city's portion or their matching funds for this project and fiscal impact will be $10,781.98. So with that, Council, I'm going to be asking you to do 4 things for us tonight. I'm going to ask you to award a professional services agreement to Wildan Engineering for construction engineering services for the West Dolphin Avenue CMAQ construction project. I'm going to ask you to allocate $10,781.98 of funding from Measure V for the local match. I'm going to ask you to authorize the finance director to amend the budget to reflect all appropriate capital, revenue, and transfer accounts and create a purchase order in the amount of the full budgetary amount of $101,799. And finally, I'm requesting you to authorize the city manager, Ron Strand, to execute the contract. Honorable Mayor and Council members, I'm available for questions. That concludes my report.
Any questions from council? Hearing none. Any call-ins? We'll give them 30 seconds.
That was Gary's idea. Why don't you set the timer for 35 seconds? So now we'll know it's counting down when it gets started.
You could add the audio for the Jeopardy countdown.
I was just going to do that. Sorry.
It's been 30 seconds. Any call-ins? No. Okay, entertain a motion.
So move.
Second?
Second.
Second, thank you, Lindsay. Roll call?
Mayor Breeden?
Aye.
Mr. Maurer?
Aye.
Mr. Heyman?
Aye.
Mr. Blades?
Aye.
Ms. Stevens?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. Next item is a resolution of the City of Ridgecrest City Council to adopt a road project list for fiscal year 2020-2021, partially funded by SB1, the Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017.
Well, Madam Mayor, members of council, I wanted to talk to you about the road project list for this year. First of all, I want to apologize to the Infrastructure Committee for not bringing this to them before I brought it to council. The list this year is basically just the leftovers from last year, so what you approved last year is what's on the list this year. So we were very ambitious in what we put forward last year and didn't make anywhere near as much as we thought we might have. But we didn't have any background in the program at that point in time either. So what this Senate Bill SB 1, Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017, provided much needed funding for road repairs. This year they're providing about $561,000. Now, again, with the drop in people traveling and stuff, the amount that will actually be realized over this next year will be smaller than that, but that's what the estimate was at the time, and that's what we budget for, and then we make appropriate changes as we go along. But so we need to submit to follow the process correctly. We have to have a signed resolution by council to turn in before May 1st. I'm guessing that'll get extended with everything that's going on, and council's not meeting in different places throughout the state. But you need to be able to have that turned in by May 1st as the normal order. So I put the list together. Basically, like I said, it's a continuation, not a continuation. A continuation of last year's list. Basically, the areas that, I got to quit saying basically. The areas that it's going to cover is we will finish anything in the current neighborhood that's between China Lake, Richardson, Ridgecrest Boulevard, and Upjohn. We'll finish anything in there that's not done, because by then water should be finished, and we'll take care of that. We'll take care of Gold Canyon and La Mirage, as well as, I'm not even looking at my list, the neighborhood that's bounded by Drummond, Las Flores, Norma, and Downs. We'll start in that area. If we get beyond, there's no penalty for adding, there's no penalty for subtracting. So if other streets come up that we need to do, for instance, we've already been asked, after this was turned in, to take care of the last little bit of Dolphin that was built years ago. That they've asked that we slurry that during the season as well. So we will do that. We'll add that because it just good sense after the road's paved, but not till after the road's paved. So this is the list we're providing that we're going to turn in, and we need you to approve the list. So what I'm basically asking is to approve the resolution to adopt the project list for fiscal year 2021, partially funded by SB1, the Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017.
Any questions of council?
The list you have was a continuation, as you say, from last year's what wasn't completed, correct?
That's correct.
Does it look like, from the knowledge we gained this year, that you, without any extraordinary things happening, be able to complete this list for this year?
The only ones we might not complete are there's 3 roads in here that we received federal money on up to 7 to 10 years ago, and we need to maintain them. We will do the residentials first, so we may not get to those, but I would say there's a good chance that we'll finish all the residentials on the list.
Good job.
Any other questions or comments?
Oh, by the way, we're starting the slurry for this spring Monday.
Is it warm enough?
It's got to be 45 and rising, is all
okay.
it has to be.
I've owned a business that sells cooler supplies for 41 years. Well, owned it for 40, now it's been a year since. This is the first year I can remember in 41 years that we haven't had an 80-degree day by April 1st.
Actually, there was supposed to be this week, but it dropped just below.
Yeah, it was supposed to be, but it wasn't. So usually we've had 90-degree days by now. So anyway, we will allow 30 seconds for any call-ins. Anybody wants to call in, please call in.
I know in the past we've had some, if I can take part of that 30 seconds.
Sure.
In the past we've had issues when some of the other utilities are working on the streets that we are hoping to work on also. Are these all been cleared by the other utilities?
We gave them the list last year, and most of them didn't have any problem. What we'll do is when Lauren has his utility meeting, I think it's a month from now, we'll pass out the list again, just so everybody knows.
Okay.
And that is why we're waiting on several of the ones in the current neighborhood, because water's still working on it. And by handing out that list, they said, hey, wait a minute. So that's good.
Okay. He says there's no call-in, so ready for a motion on item 9?
I move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. Roll call.
Mayor Breeden?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens? Mr. Maurer?
Yes.
Mr. Heyman?
Aye.
Mr. Blades?
Aye.
Ms. Stevens?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Okay. Next item is ordinances. Item 10, second reading and adoption of ordinance 20-01, an ordinance of the City Council of Ridgecrest, California, amending of portions of Chapter 4 Public Safety, Article 7, Regulations for Public Parks of the Ridgecrest Municipal Code regarding riding equipment in skate park. Okay, this is the second time this is up. Attorney?
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor, thank you. And Madam Mayor, Lloyd Pilchin, City Attorney. So as the Vice Mayor said, this is the second reading and adoption of an ordinance. This was brought before the council to revise the regulations regarding the skate park to allow more types of wheeled vehicles like BMX bikes. So we prepared the ordinance to make that change. There was a question at past meetings about whether it would have an effect on the city's insurance. City clerk found out that it is accidents at the skate park, even with BMX bikes, would be covered by the city's plan. But of course, it does increase the risk of claims, and therefore, if there's enough of them, potentially increasing the premium. The insurance carrier requested signage stating that the city does not have liability because it is an inherently dangerous activity. And as well, the city will have rules governing how it should be, how patrons should be using it. We talked at the last meeting about on this concept of increasing risk. We talked about an age restriction. So since and the way we left it was we had the first reading of the ordinance without an age restriction being part of the ordinance, but instead that could be adopted as rules promulgated by the police chief, which the ordinance provides for. So since then, our office looked at a number of other similar ordinances, and it is very common to have age restrictions as part of the rules that are outside of the municipal code. So we will recommend that to the police chief, and we've already spoken with him, and we will work with the police chief on putting together a list of rules for the use of the skate park. And we've got 30 days to do it, presuming the skate park remains open, because the ordinance, if the second reading is passed tonight, it still must be published in the newspaper, and it takes 30 days before the ordinance becomes effective. I am available for any questions.
Any questions of the attorney?
I have one. At the last meeting, I recall asking for the to be in this, that we would look at it and examine it in a year or less, but I think I asked for a year. So that way, if it is impacting the enforcement thereof on our own police department and other entities, I wanted us not to be able to pass this into perpetuity. I don't see that in there. Was there a change in that?
Right. As I recall, Madam Mayor, at the last meeting, we did not say that that would be included, baked into the ordinance itself. What you are suggesting, I think, is perfectly reasonable and should be considered direction to staff, so that the staff should put it on their calendars to bring back a staff report to the City Council in a year. But I do recall that we talked about should there be a sunset clause in the ordinance, and that was not part of the motion that was made at the last meeting.
No, we didn't want a sunset clause. We just wanted to review it.
Review it.
So we got to rely on staff to bring it
Okay.
back to report.
I guess my concern is that I know that it's not like they have nothing else to do.
That's true.
And I know things can get past people, so it's going to have to be up to us and staff and all of us just to try to work together, because my concern is if we're spending a small fortune and time impact on our police department to go patrol the parks, that this is not a fair thing to do.
Jed has put it in his calendar.
Well, I think Rika can place in her calendar.
Actually did already.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you,
Mayor,
Lloyd. I appreciate it.
Put it on my.
Okay,
Madam
well, we've
Mayor,
got it on everybody's calendar.
So we're
Yay.
good.
Yeah, Mr. Maurer, I think that Ms. Stevens was requesting permission to annotate the slides.
To do what?
That was sorry. I just hit a button and I was like, oh no.
Okay, all right. Yeah, because Gary was asking, so okay, we're good.
No problem. Sorry.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay.
And let me just add one more thing. This is Lloyd. Could I ask the city clerk to make clear that this does require 2 separate motions and votes as are set forth in the staff report?
Yes, sir. Actually, on the next slide, it will list both motions. I'm prepared to do that.
It's red on my agenda here too. Okay, we'll open this up for any public comment. We will start the timer for public comment. Anybody want to sing a song while we're waiting?
We could do-da again.
Yeah, I thought about playing the Jeopardy theme.
No, I think more relevant these days is we should use the time to wash our hands.
Yeah, wash our hands, yeah.
We don't sanitize.
Do we do it as a group wash or all each one?
No group washes.
Okay, we're too close to do that.
Okay, the time has run out. Any calls? No calls. Okay, then I'll entertain a motion. 2 motions, actually. One at a time.
I make a motion to waive the reading in full of an ordinance of the City Council of Ridgecrest, California, amending portions of the Chapter 4 Public Safety, Article 7, Regulations for Public Parks of the Ridgecrest Municipal Code regarding riding equipment in the skate park.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Mayor Breeden?
Aye.
Mr. Maurer?
Aye.
Mr. Heyman?
Aye.
Mr. Blades?
Aye.
Ms. Stevens?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Okay, next motion.
I make a motion to adopt by title only an ordinance of the City Council of Ridgecrest, California, amending portions of Chapter 4 Public Safety, Article 7, Regulations for Public Parks of the Ridgecrest Municipal Code regarding riding equipment in the skate park.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, roll call.
Mayor Breeden?
Aye.
Mr. Maurer?
Aye.
Mr. Heyman?
Aye.
Mr. Blades?
Aye.
Ms. Stevens?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Okay, this takes us down to committee reports. Have we had any committees meet?
You and I did, Scott, didn't we? Or was that at the last meeting?
Do I need to go through?
Last meeting, okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
I do have a report from the RACVB.
Okay.
This is through Melissa Anchetta. She said that the RACVB finished their annual report and they'll be bringing it to council for a report as soon as practical.
Okay. Any other committees? Moving right along then. Any other
You could
committees?
always tell the sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, the RCBB, we could always give them the option to use this WebEx platform if they wanted that done sooner rather than later, because I think this has worked out fairly well.
Okay, I'll pass that along.
Okay, good suggestion. City manager report.
I guess the only thing I can say is just we have to be flexible and everybody be safe. And we'll just work our way through this to wherever this is going to take us. So I'll try to keep you guys as updated as possible. I'm still forwarding you all the information I get from the state. And if anything relevant comes up, I'll obviously reach out to you and let you know what's going on. So I do appreciate, the chief and I do appreciate the council members that have come forward and volunteered to do public service announcements. We'll continue to probably ask you guys to do this because I think it's important that we still provide the information out there. I mean, it gets to a point where it's repetitive, but as we can come up with, new things that should be brought out to the public or if things should change within the community, I think we still plan on reaching out to you guys. I think they've been well received by the community. I know they're kind of rough in nature, but we're doing the best we can. But I think there's value to it. And I do appreciate everybody stepping up and helping out.
Okay, thank you. Any future agenda items? Hearing none, mayor and council comments. Anyone want to make some comments?
I have a question, if I may, and a comment. I know that when meetings are canceled, and I know not why they were canceled, but I am always available. I'm virtually on no committees. I attend almost all the committee meetings, even though I can't speak. So I think I'm pretty up on what's happening. If somebody can't make it, especially given all that's going on in everybody's lives, I would be open to being able to step in so we don't have to cancel a meeting. I know that staff and people have prepared for it, and I know that the public looks forward to it. So if it's appropriate and no one has any objection, please ask me so I can fill in, at least so we can have the committees rather than skip it, because sometimes they are important. I know not every one of them must be done that time, but I don't want to let work lag behind because staff is so overburdened with all that's happening right now. So it's a suggestion, and if anybody is willing to take me up on that, I would certainly be able to fill in rather than cancel a meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I got one do-over.
Sure.
Just as a reminder, Rika sent out an email to each of the council regarding our municipal code update. We got all the information out to you early. We're looking at doing the first reading on April 15th. So if you get a chance to look through it and you have questions, please reach out to us. Really, the whole premises of the update is just to restructure the municipal code, get it up to legal conformity. So if you have questions that we can deal with as staff prior to that meeting, that'd be great.
That's a good point. We did have a city org meeting. We did go over that. So
Right.
Now that you mention it, and we reviewed the changes, and so it'll come before us next meeting. Then.
And Rick is putting something out to the public also, so folks can download the information. If they have questions, we'll entertain that also. It is a lot of information, but there's no significant change. But it may make people feel uncomfortable because we're restructuring the whole municipal code and how it's structured. It makes it easier for amendments and additions and stuff like that. So we know it's a big amount of information to look at, and that's why we want to give everybody the opportunity to ask questions and feel comfortable, because there's nothing that staff's trying to sneak in there that's a fundamental change to anything. But it is necessary for us to move forward because we've been wanting to start amending and adding stuff to the municipal code. We've been waiting for this to occur so we can move forward. So that's where we're at. So,
okay,
thank you.
Yeah, because we did have a meeting, and I forgot that until you mentioned it. Any other council comments?
I have a couple things I'd like to address. One, I just want to thank our mayor, our chief of police, and our city manager for doing such a thorough, expedient job on keeping us updated on this COVID-19 situation. It's every day is different, but the information that they're bringing to us, to the council, is right on time. I mean, they're on the leading edge of any information. I get on the county websites, I get on the state websites every day, but what I'm getting from our city manager and from our chief and from our mayor is real-time, right now information. I think you guys are doing a great job of keeping us all abreast of what's going on. So keep up the good work. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up was Bard had touched base on a couple issues earlier that I think a lot of times I just want to say back to the wastewater treatment issue that we had back when the earthquakes hit. Those that were around and was active in hearing what was going on and the severity of it was. I too want to just really throw it out there for Jim Humphrey and the crew at the wastewater facility. The work that they did was exceptional on keeping us up and running as a city on that wastewater treatment. Damage control was fantastic, and you can't say enough thank you to, I know it's, been a while, and to the road repairs, I drive around town, I've noticed there was a chunk in the road missing on an intersection, had popped out. It was a big piece of asphalt. It got fixed before I could even really, I mean, there was people on it. It's fixed. It's done. I commend your crew on that. It was actually on Drummond and Norma. And then there was a street that had some pretty serious check lines in it. I call it the cracks. But they're not so rough anymore. So I commend you on good, solid, quality work on the road side of life. So, but that's all I have to say. So,
anything else, Lindsay or Kyle?
Yes, I just wanted to say I also, agree with Doc Heyman on the wastewater and the roads crew doing an excellent job. I also want to point out I really appreciate the IT guys, Gary and Matt, and all that they've been doing these last few weeks, scrambling to make adjustments for staff working from home or these meetings. I think you guys have really done a great job of facilitating it. I know it hasn't gone perfectly, but I think each time it's improving, and so I'm really thankful that we have you guys working for us.
Good comment. Thank you. I just want to say thank you to all the people of Ridgecrest. I think we've done an outstanding job of, as a majority, of trying to live by these CDC guidelines. I'm almost tired of hearing about the coronavirus. I mean, it's 24/7 on the news. But one report that came out that was kind of concerning to everybody was some mathematician, I was told, came out that when you sneeze, you can go 27 feet. And the doctor, I can't remember his name, that's on the task force, he said that would be one heck of a big sneeze. So I just think
27 feet?
Says it can travel 27 feet. But that was that was a mathematician that said that. But the doctor said that would be one heck of a strong sneeze for it to travel 27 feet, and he's not sure how much would be left in it by the time it got 27 feet. But I just think that looking around town and the few times I've gone into a public place, you go to the hospital, and my gosh, I had some stitches in my back I had taken out today, and they've got it down pat. I mean, you get greeted at the door by someone with a mask. They find out who you are. They go get you checked in, and you wait in the lobby, the only one in the lobby, waiting for the nurse to come out, and got my stitches out, and I went right back out the door. So I know this is really financially affecting the hospital, and we just need to work as a community to try to save everything. I've been impacted because I've got a rental property that business is shut down because it can't be open right now. They are applying for one of those loans, by the way. So I've been told that the banks will be starting to take applications, I think, on Friday to process those loans. Those loans are 100% guaranteed by SBA, and if you do everything you're supposed to do for 4 months, they will forgive it. It'll actually be a grant rather than a loan. So I encourage all the local business. I know the Chamber's put out information on that, and we've gotten information from other places on emails to encourage those being affected. I mean, I see the drive-thrus working out pretty good. We've tried to support at least one drive-through a day, and they're flowing good. The people working in the drive-thrus are doing an excellent job, and I just think as a community we can get through this. And I'm thankful for everybody that is obeying the rules. And with that, I will adjourn the meeting at 7:31.
Thank you.
I don't have the gavel.
You know, we